In our Sculpting Creatures series, the focus will be, of course, on sculpting. So we'll start off by deleting the default camera, cube, and light and add a UV sphere. Next, we'll set up a multi-view workspace. Go to the corner and hover until you see a plus sign, then drag. Drag again to split the left panel. Then in the bottom left, we'll hit 1 on the numpad for a front view. On top, hit 7 for a top view. Switch into sculpt mode. Next, we'll go over the sculpting tools and techniques we'll be using. These tools include the Clay Tool, Inflate Tool, Crease, Smooth, Grab, Elastic Deform, and the Snake Hook tool. Also, we'll go over remeshing. I'll adjust the left menu to collapse the tool icons into 2 columns. I'll go to the Object Properties tab in the Properties panel and click on Viewport Display. Then click on Wireframe. This will show you what the mesh will look like as we go. So to begin, I'll do a remesh in order to break the object into smaller faces. Go to Remesh and we'll change the value to 0.05. And as you can see, the object is broken into smaller faces. If I change it to 0.01, the mesh, of course, will become denser. You can think of face density in the same way that you think of pixel density in a photo. So to start, we'll switch back to 0.05. I find that it's good to start off with less density while creating the initial form, and then add density as the details become more refined. We'll start off by using the Elastic Deform tool. Each tool has 2 settings: radius, which is the width of the brush, and strength, which is the degree of influence the brush has on the mesh. The shortcut for radius is the F key. Then drag to change the size. And the shortcut for strength is the Shift F key. Then drag to change the strength setting. And you'll see that we'll be using these 2 shortcuts often. Hit 1 on the numpad for a front view. We'll increase the brush size by using the F key. Then begin to pull the mesh. If you change the strength, you can see how it affects the mesh. Less strength requires multiple drags, whereas more strength requires less dragging. As you drag and expand the mesh, you can see that the mesh gets distorted. And as you pull, the faces get larger. Now if I remesh, Blender will recalculate the mesh by making the size of the mesh consistent across the added volume. Then you can return to manipulating the mesh. Then keep periodically remeshing as you go. Now that you have an idea of how remeshing works, we'll go over the features of the sculpting tools. The Elastic Deform tool is good for manipulating large areas. The Grab tool works similarly, but with a tighter range. The Snake Hook tool has an even tighter range and can also really extend the mesh. This is good for things like appendages, tails, or tree branches, for example. And the Inflate tool inflates. Now I'll reduce the size of the mesh for the next set of tools and turn off the wireframe. The Smooth tool is good for smoothing out the mesh. The Clay tool is good for building up volume. I find that the Clay tool can also work like a Smooth tool when you bring the strength all the way down. And the Crease tool is good for creasing. You can remesh after using the Crease tool and smooth out the mesh. Now that we've learned about some of these key sculpting tools, let's put them in practice with a demo creating a simple alien creature. Okay, first we'll go into Object Mode, add a UV sphere, switch into Sculpt Mode, and remesh to 0.05. Go to the Object Properties tab, click on Viewport Display, and then Wireframe. We'll go to the Elastic Deform tool and increase the brush size. Then begin to manipulate the mesh and remesh as you go. Add some volume with the Inflate tool. You can use the multi-view to see and tweak the object from multiple angles. Switch to the Elastic Deform tool. Then the Grab tool. Remesh, make some more adjustments, add some volume with the Inflate tool, back to the Grab tool, remesh. Next we'll go to the Snake Hook tool to add some arms. Remesh, then extend, remesh again. We'll use the Inflate tool to add some volume. Remesh. Next we'll add some legs. Remesh. Inflate. Remesh. Next, we'll increase the face density to 0.01 and remesh. And turn off the wireframe. Next, we'll use the Smooth tool. Use the Grab tool to bring in the arms a bit. Use the Inflate tool to add some volume for hands. And then feet. Next, we'll use the Clay tool while holding down the Control key to flatten the bottom of the feet. Then use the Grab tool to make some refinements. One thing to note, I don't have mirroring turned on, but if I did, I'd only need to make adjustments to one side, and it would maintain symmetry. Next, I'll use the Snake Hook tool to add some toes. Use the Inflate tool to add some volume. Remesh, then smooth out. Next, we'll add some fingers. And now for the antennas. Use the Inflate tool to add some volume. Remesh, then smooth out. Use the Inflate tool to add some volume to the ends of the antennas. Remesh and smooth. Next, we'll add the eyeball as a separate object. Go to Object Mode. Add a UV sphere. Then size and put into place. Next, I'll add a subdivision surface modifier as a shortcut to smooth it out. Then apply the modifier. I'll select the body object and switch back to Sculpt mode. I'll adjust the area around the eye. Note that this would have been symmetrical had I turned on mirroring, but it will show you how you can use the Grab tool to make refinements. Next, I'll switch to the eye object and remesh it in order to add the pupil to the eye. Switch to the Clay tool and hold down the Control key to subtract some volume. Lastly, I'll use the Crease tool to add a mouth and to add some crease around the arms and legs. And there you have it, our first simple creature creating using the tools we've just learned about. The creatures we'll be creating this series will be made using these same tools, in addition to adding color and lighting. Join me in the videos in the rest of this series as we gain more practice sculpting. Please share your feedback in the comments, and if you found this video useful, I invite you to like and subscribe for more.